Hello and welcome back to After the Movies, the show where we talk about movies after you've seen them. I am Luke, and with me is
Jonathan?
and we're here to talk to you about a great movie called The Princess Bride. And let's talk for a quick moment about why this movie is number one on Luke's top five, maybe six list of movies. And that's because it's excellent filmmaking, like just across the entire board. And the other beautiful thing is they don't take themselves too seriously, which actually makes the movie that much better because of it. I'm talking about things like introducing, characters and letting them interrupt the movie and cut that flow. And I don't know, it works for me in like Emperor's New Groove. It works for me here. Just all this stuff is just, I don't know, it just tickles my funny bone. And I've seen this movie many, many times, and it's really old, and yet it holds up like, like gold. Like it's just, it is so good, and it moves. There's never a place where I'm like, wow, I'm bored right now, which, is pretty impressive for a movie. Like, there's just a lot of stuff about this movie that I absolutely love. But before I just rant forever, Jonathan.
No, this is a great movie. This is one of the classics. It's really clever, really witty, really fun. I do like the breaking up of the story. I don't know that it would play as well if it was a straight in that
Right.
world movie. I'm not.
Nope.
I just don't think it would play as
Mm-mm.
well. And yeah, the fact that it's this grand. You get this actual kind of subplot, which is really the main plot of the grandfather and son. Will they connect? Will they get through this together? Is actually really like a really good, simple, but nice through line that makes it kind of modernized, I suppose, because it's really about that connection.
And yet at the same time, like that acting, that's the other thing. Like the acting in this movie is just, it's just great. And like at the very beginning, like you've got the grandfather and the kid and cheek pinch, and you're just like, you believe it. You believe every moment of it. You're like, yup, yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. This movie, I think, it just exudes character. There's
Mm-hmm.
just so much character in all the scenes of this movie. I think about the sword fight between the masked man in black and Inigo Montoya, and that's one of the greatest sword fight scenes ever. And it's not because of the choreography. It just isn't. Like, I mean, it's not bad.
Right.
It's solid,
Mm-hmm.
especially for that time frame. But it's not about that. It's not about that at all. It's about having conversation and character moments and revealing things about each other in the middle of a conflict, which is kind of filmmaking and storytelling 101. You have characters, you have them in some sort of conflict, or scene plays out. There's something that changes, and that you reveal more about them as the story progresses through action specifically. So that scene and many others like it throughout the entire movie are all like that. They're all just these character beautiful character moments, and just really, really. I mean, even at the end, I think of one of my favorite moments too is the count with the six fingers, and Inigo and Montoya meet for the first time, and Inigo just takes out all of his guard, and he says his line, "I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." You're right. He says that line we all love, and especially I'm sure the first time you're watching this, you're like, "Oh, dude, they're about to have an epic sword fight," and he puts his sword up and he runs.
And what's beautiful is there's no music, there's no sound cues, there's nothing to let you know it's coming. It just happens, and
and
then the music cue.
it's great. It's all just character. Like, it's one of those things where you as the writer, you're sitting there and you watch as an audience, you just realize it's unexpected, but at the same time, it's so true to the character. Like, you start to look back and you're like, there's no other way that could
Yep.
happen.
Yep.
There's just no other way. But you didn't see it coming when you watched it the first time. As my writing teacher once said, that's like the holy grail of writing. Like, that's just really good stuff when you can pull that off. And this movie does that all over the place. It's such good character movie.
And what's interesting, speaking of the writing, this is William Goldman, and he wrote the book as well. And the book is funny but totally different. At one point in time, Wesley actually slaps Buttercup. Like it's a totally different world. Like, but to be able to not only adapt and write a great script, but to be able to adapt your own work,
Mm.
like. But that's why William Goldman is the script doctor, and apparently he helps other people fix their scripts because this guy really knows what he's doing, and it just shines in this movie. It's the script, the lines, everything is just everything down to like you think it'll work, it'll take a miracle. Like there's just so many good things. How long do we have to wait? Well, I guess not long. You should wait at least an hour. Like just everything is so good and so well placed in this world. It's good.
It's yeah, that's the thing about The Princess Bride, is that it's pretty short. It's stock full of stuff. There's multiple layers. I mean, again, just thinking about the two worlds alone, you're dealing with both the fantastical Princess Bride world and that story and its subplots with Inigo and Fezzik and all these people, right? You've got all that going on, but that's that's the story being told to a kid by his grandfather, and that's the other we're going Inception here. It's a world within a world. That's happening in the real world is this kid and the grandfather and their connection that happens and it's just a really basic kid goes from I kind of hate being around grandpa because he just pinches my cheek and I don't get it. He's just so old. To please come back and again to me because I love being with you. I love that you exposed me to this. And that's a really I don't think you can understate how much or overstate I should say how important that is to this movie, that
Yeah.
arc, and how good that is for making it kind of connect and be modern because you let yourself be in the place of the kid. And they make some great commentary about different things that happen.
You're
right?
reading it wrong.
You're reading it wrong. That can't possibly be what's happening. Are you serious? You really are the kid, right? You are Fred Savage.
Well, and even with the like who gets Prince Humperdinck? Nobody. And you're as the audience, you're like,
right.
What are you talking about?
right. Because and you're thinking action movies. You're thinking like somebody has to go in there and kill him with a big sword fight or something, right? And I mean, granted, I love movies that do that, but there is something to be said about this story is not that way. This story is more clever. The story goes different places and has actually some interesting themes and ideas. I mean, the idea of pain, I actually realized at the time, was showing up quite a bit in this story. The idea of the pit of despair and that the count who's evil, and he's evil because he's like he loves pain. He loves horrible things. That's what he loves. That's what he wants to explore to the expense of everybody and everything. And the idea that pain is also the greatest weakness of the Prince Humperdinck. Prince Humperdinck. And it's like I don't know, there's kind of these layers of the idea of pain and how does Inigo Montoya beat the Count? He handles pain. He just gets through his pain. That's what he does. He just doesn't let it overtake him. Like I don't know. There's all these kind of it's just so many layers, things you can see, and that's just good writing. And it's not I don't know exactly how you do that, but it's a level where I don't necessarily think that William Goldman is thinking about all the layers as much as I think he's thinking about specific one thing. He's thinking about maybe the grandpa and the boy on one level. He's thinking about his major story and Buttercup and True Love, and he might have a few things. He wrote the book, so he's had time to explore these things plenty. So he knows how to potentially get those to be, how you say, small and summarized, really good. I mean, that is really good writing, right? Not writing a lot, writing something small that's really good. That's really hard to do. That's really good writing. And so I don't know. There's just something about how that movie is witty, clever, and just has all these layers and has some really interesting things going on. It's clever and it's actually kind of more thought provoking than some other movies you'll be watching. It's just really good.
And that's the thing about this, where you've got not only the kid and his relationship with grandfather, but also like his relationship with like art and like romance and story. Like at the beginning it's like, look, just get me to the exciting parts. Like I just don't. But to mature even to the end of being like, what, people matter. Like there's something about this that even though it's ushy gushy mushy stuff, it's still important, and like to come to that kind of growth in that as well. The other thing that I love about this movie is that it's really low budget. Like it's really good filmmaking, and like, okay, so it's a dude in a rat suit, but you know what? It's awesome and it's tense, and you're like, oh my goodness, like the fire spurts, like where they did the production value, it just pays off in spades. Like it's great. And from what I've seen in the behind the scenes, because yes, I love this movie. Like they're actually in an old castle and they actually have flames, and so like the people who like own the castle are like, oh my goodness, they're gonna burn this place down. Like yeah, and these are like the original tapestries hanging here. Like so to be able to just walk into those kinds of environments. But then to build also the sets they do, like the Pit of Despair is great. Like there's just, they do everything really, really well. Like Cliffs of Insanity, everything, like every single set piece, every moment, every place, you're like, yep, I believe it, and it's strong. It's just strong.
I think the last thing I'll say about The Princess Bride is that it's hard. I'm hard pressed to find things I don't like about this movie, whether it's a scene or even just an environment or anything. Like, yeah, I mean, you definitely can look and say like the shrieking eels look a little bit like puppets. Like you can tell those kinds of things, but that's just not your focus. And
Right.
that's again, that's filmmaking and storytelling 101. Like if you've got something that that's weak or
Mm-hmm.
it's just there to serve the story. And the focus of the story, the characters, again, the characters, even the guy in the pit of despair, the albino, like everybody, like you remember them, you enjoy them, they are
Yep.
good characters, even if they're in there for like 5 minutes. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing, that's kind of the spectacle of the movie. That's the engaging part. All those things draw you in. And then anything that might be there that might draw you out or might potentially be you might be too poor to make or looks old now just doesn't matter. It's just not the focus.
Because the story is what's moving on. And I will say also, just from a technical standpoint, they knock it out of the park. Like when they need to get the shot, they get the shot. You know, like you've got these panning shots during like say the torture sequence with the and it kind of pans around as everything's spinning and whirling and all that stuff. You've got the great shot of him like praying, saying guide my sword, and like the light is just perfect behind him and the camera's just low, and like you got these push-ins, and just there are so many just technically excellent moments that just sell the movie and make it awesome.
Yeah, and they're very low key.
Mm-hmm.
They're not very fancy. There's directors, Martin Scorsese, who like to do these like really long one shots. And like, look, those are awesome too.
They are.
Especially when you execute them well, they're just phenomenal. But Rob Reiner takes the approach in this movie at least of just again all those shots like it's a move down, tilt up. It's a push in very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a maybe move around. Like it's not the most difficult. It's just really well executed.
Yep.
And executed at the right times. You don't push in all the time. You push in when Wesley's talking about to the pain and explains like I'm going, I will cut off everything except your ears so that you will suffer all the pain that you could possibly imagine. Like, it's just the right moment, the right technique. That's a good thing. So Princess Bride's not, in my opinion, it's not the best movie ever. It's a great movie, and it's a great movie because it hits all of its places at the right time and in the right way. So it's hard pressed to find anything bad about it. That in itself is a huge compliment.
Absolutely. So yes, if you for some reason haven't seen this movie, like maybe you're Fred Savage's age, or I don't know, like it's a little intense for kids, especially with the torture scene in the RUSs.
I mean, sometimes, except that it's
if you're a sensitive child,
if Fred Savage can do it, I think if you're his age, I think you can maybe make it.
Okay, but like if you're older than that, like watch this movie. Like it's
good.
It's good.
It's really good.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us for After the Movies. We like this movie, so check it out.
Yep.
And we'll be back later to talk about more movies.
Bye-bye.